The ship came down in flames over the northern mountains of Velaris Prime. Captain Maya Chen watched the burning trail from the command post, her jaw tight. The vessel was Keithrani, a refugee transport if the markings were right. And if the Dominion warships in orbit were any sign, those refugees were running from something terrible. "Get me a rescue team ready in 5 minutes," she said to Sergeant Tors, who stood beside her. "Full combat gear. We do not know what followed them down." Tors nodded and ran. Maya turned back to the window. The Terran Defense Force had been stationed on this planet for 3 years now, watching over a colony that sat right at the edge of contested space. They had seen their share of trouble, but something about this felt different. 20 minutes later, Maya led a squad of 12 soldiers through the dense forest that covered the mountainside. The crash site was a mess of torn metal and burning fuel. The Keithrani ship had broken apart on impact, leaving pieces scattered across a valley floor. "Spread out," Maya ordered. "Look for survivors, stay sharp." Private James Cooper was the first to find them. He was checking a section of hull when he heard a sound, a soft cry, like a child. He pushed aside a piece of metal and found a small space beneath the wreckage. Inside huddled a Keithrani female and 3 children. The Keithrani were tall beings with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to see right through you. The female was injured. Cooper could see dark blood seeping from a wound on her side. But she held her children close, her body forming a shield around them. Captain Cooper called into his radio. "I found survivors. 1 adult female, 3 young ones. The adult is hurt." Maya arrived quickly. She knelt at the opening and looked at the Keithrani female. The alien watched her with fear in her large eyes. "We are not going to hurt you," Maya said slowly. She did not know if the Keithrani understood Terran Common, but she hoped her tone would help. "We want to help." The female spoke then, her voice thin and tired. "Please, my children, save my children." "We will save all of you," Maya said firmly. She turned to her medic. "Vasquez, get in there and stop that bleeding. Cooper, help me get these kids out." They worked carefully. The children were small, the oldest maybe 8 years old by human standards. They clung to each other, their eyes wide with fear. Cooper lifted them out one by one, speaking softly to each. "It is okay. You are safe now. We have you." As Vasquez treated the mother, Maya heard the sound she had been dreading, the low hum of engines in the sky. She looked up to see 3 Dominion dropships descending through the clouds. "Contact," she said calmly into her radio. "Dominion forces incoming. All units defensive positions. Protect the civilians." The Dominion. Maya knew them well. They were a military empire that had conquered dozens of worlds. The Keithrani had once been their subjects, slaves, really. 2 years ago, the Keithrani had risen up and tried to win their freedom. Most had been crushed. The survivors had fled across the galaxy, looking for safety. And now some of them had found the Terrans. The dropships landed 100 meters away. Dominion soldiers poured out, heavily armored warriors with energy weapons. There were at least 50 of them. Maya's squad numbered 12. A Dominion officer stepped forward. He was taller than the others, his armor decorated with markings of rank. He looked at the human soldiers with open contempt. "Terrans," he said, his voice carrying across the clearing. "You have found our escaped property. Hand them over and you may leave this planet alive." Maya stepped in front of the Keithrani family. Behind her, she could hear the children whimpering. The mother was trying to stand, but Vasquez held her down. "I am Captain Maya Chen of the Terran Defense Force," she said, her voice steady. "These people have requested asylum. Under Terran law, they are now under our protection." The Dominion officer laughed. "Your laws mean nothing. Those creatures belong to us. They are runaway slaves, nothing more." "People cannot be property," Maya replied. "They are not going anywhere with you." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Then you will die with them." He raised his hand to give the order. Maya did not wait. Her rifle was up and firing before he could speak. The first shot hit him square in the chest and he fell backward. "Contact," Maya shouted. "Light them up." The clearing erupted in chaos. Energy bolts and bullets flew through the air. The Terran soldiers fought from behind cover, trees, rocks, pieces of the crashed ship. They were outnumbered, but they had the advantage of position, and they were fighting for something that mattered. Cooper had positioned himself directly in front of the Keithrani family. A shot hit him in the shoulder, spinning him around. He gritted his teeth, switched his rifle to his other hand, and kept firing. One of the children screamed. Cooper looked back and saw pure terror on their small faces. He thought of his own little sister back on Earth. She was about the same age as the oldest child. "Stay down," he told them. "I will not let anyone hurt you, I promise." The mother reached out and touched his hand. Her grip was weak, but her eyes said everything. "Thank you." The firefight lasted 20 minutes. By the end, 7 Terran soldiers were wounded, but 34 Dominion warriors lay dead on the ground, and the rest were retreating to their dropships. Maya watched them go. She knew this was not over. The Dominion did not forget, and they did not forgive. They would be back with more soldiers, but for now, for this moment, the refugees were safe. She turned back to the Keithrani family. The mother was crying now, not from pain, but from relief. Her children had gathered around her, holding her hands. "What is your name?" Maya asked gently. "Sierra," the mother answered. "And these are my children, Kale, Myra, and little Ven." Maya nodded. "Well, Sierra, your family is safe now. We are taking you to our base. You will have food, medicine, and a place to rest." Sierra looked at her with wonder. "Why do you help us? We are nothing to you. We are strangers." Maya smiled. "Because that is who we are. That is what humans do. We protect families. We protect the innocent. It does not matter where you come from or what you look like. When someone needs help, we help." Sierra stared at her for a long moment. Then she bowed her head in the Keithrani way of showing deep respect. "The stories are true," she whispered. "The Terrans really are different." Maya helped her to her feet, supporting her with care. Around them, the other soldiers were gathering their wounded. Cooper had found a piece of cloth and was making a sling for his injured arm with one hand and his teeth. When he saw Maya watching, he gave her a thumbs up. "Let us go home," Maya said. Together, humans and Keithrani walked through the forest toward the Terran base, leaving the burning wreckage behind. Above them, the Dominion ship still circled in orbit. But on the ground, among the trees, a small family had found something they had thought was lost forever. Hope. The Terran base was a collection of sturdy buildings surrounded by defensive walls. It sat in a clearing by a river, with mountains rising on 3 sides. The location had been chosen for defense. There were only 2 ways to approach, and both could be easily watched. When Maya arrived with the refugees, the whole base came to attention. Word had spread about the fight at the crash site. Everyone wanted to see the aliens they had risked their lives to save. Sierra walked slowly, supported by 2 soldiers. Her wound had been cleaned and wrapped, but she was weak from blood loss. Her children stayed close, their large eyes taking in everything around them. The youngest Ven could not have been more than 3 years old. He held his mother's hand tightly, his face pressed against her leg. The middle child, Myra, was perhaps 5. She watched the human soldiers with open curiosity, and Kale, the oldest at 8, walked with his shoulders squared, trying to be brave for his family. Dr. Sarah Mitchell was waiting at the medical building. She was the base's chief medical officer, a woman with graying hair and kind eyes. She had been briefed on Keithrani physiology during her training, though she had never actually treated one. "Bring her in," Sarah said, gesturing to a clean bed. "I need to look at that wound properly." Sierra was hesitant to lie down. Her eyes kept darting to her children, making sure they were close. Sarah noticed this and smiled. "Your little ones can stay right here," she said gently. "See, we will put chairs right next to your bed. They will not leave your sight." Sierra relaxed slightly. She allowed herself to be helped onto the bed, and her children immediately climbed into the chairs beside her. Little Ven reached out and held his mother's hand. Maya watched from the doorway. Cooper stood beside her, his own shoulder now properly bandaged. "Captain," Cooper said quietly, "what happens now? The Dominion is not going to just leave." "No, they are not," Maya agreed. "I have sent word to command. We need reinforcements. Until they arrive, we dig in and hold." "How long until help gets here?" 3 days, maybe 4. Cooper nodded slowly. 3 days was a long time when you were outnumbered and outgunned, but he did not complain. That was not the Terran way. Inside the medical room, Dr. Mitchell finished examining Sierra's wound. It was deep, but it had missed her vital organs. With proper treatment, she would recover fully. "You are going to be fine," Sarah told her. "You need rest and food, but you will heal." Sierra's eyes filled with tears. "I thought we would die. When the ship was hit, when we were falling, I thought it was the end." Sarah sat down beside her. "Can you tell me what happened? Where were you going?" Sierra was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. "We were slaves on the Dominion world called Cora. My husband and I worked in the mines. We dug for metals that powered their ships. The work was hard. Many died, but we survived because we had each other." She paused, pain crossing her face. "When the rebellion started, my husband joined the fighters. He said we deserved to be free. He said our children deserved a real life." Her voice broke. "They killed him. They killed all the fighters, and then they came for the families." Sarah reached out and took her hand. "I am so sorry." "We ran," Sierra continued. "A ship was leaving, a cargo ship. The captain was Keith Ronnie too. He said he would take us somewhere safe. We flew for weeks, hiding, running, and then the Dominion found us." She looked at her children. "They hit our ship. We crashed. I thought everything was lost, and then the humans came." Cale had been listening. Now he spoke, his young voice serious. "Father told us stories about the Terrans. He said they were warriors who protected the weak. He said if we ever found them, we would be safe." Sarah smiled at him. "Your father was right. You are safe here." Outside, Maya was organizing the defense. She had 80 soldiers under her command, not enough to fight off a full Dominion assault, but enough to make them pay dearly for every meter of ground. "Tours," she called. "I want trenches dug around the medical building. If the fighting gets close, that is where we make our last stand." "Last stand," Tours raised an eyebrow. "The refugees cannot be moved. We protect them where they are. Everyone knows the plan. The civilians come first." Tours nodded. It was not a question. Every Terran soldier knew that protecting civilians was the highest duty. It was written into their code, burned into their training. They would fight to the last breath to keep innocent people safe. As night fell, the base settled into a tense calm. Guards were posted at every entrance. Weapons were checked and cleaned. Soldiers tried to rest, knowing that the next days would test them like nothing before. Cooper found himself drawn back to the medical building. He told himself he was just checking on his shoulder, but the truth was simpler. He wanted to see the family he had helped save. He found them in a corner of the room. Sierra was asleep, exhausted from her injuries, but the children were awake, huddled together on a blanket on the floor. Cooper sat down near them. "Cannot sleep?" he asked softly. Cale shook his head. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the Dominion soldiers. I see them hurting people." Cooper understood. He had seen terrible things in his service. The memories never fully went away. "Can I tell you something?" he said. "When I was your age, I was afraid too. I was afraid of lots of things. The dark, storms, bullies at school. But my dad taught me something important. He said that being brave does not mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and doing the right thing anyway." Cale looked at him. "Your father was wise." "He was, And I think your father was wise too. He taught you about us, about Terrans. That means he wanted you to have hope. He wanted you to believe that good things were possible. Myra, the middle child, spoke up. Father said humans have something special. He said you protect each other like we protect our hive. Cooper smiled. We call it family, and it does not matter if you are born into it or not. Family is anyone you choose to love and protect. Right now, you are part of our family. Little Vin, who had been silent this whole time, reached out and touched Cooper's hand. His small fingers wrapped around the soldier's calloused palm. Safe? Vin asked. It was the first word Cooper had heard him speak. Cooper felt his heart tighten. He looked at this tiny alien child, so far from home, who had lost his father and nearly lost his mother. And he made a promise, not just with his words but with his whole soul. Safe, he said. I promise you, nothing bad is going to happen to you while I am here. Vin smiled, a small, hesitant smile but real. He climbed into Cooper's lap and curled up there, his eyes finally closing. Cooper held him carefully, like something precious. Myra and Kale moved closer too, drawn by the warmth and safety the human soldier seemed to provide. Within minutes, all three children were asleep. Dr. Mitchell found them like that an hour later. She stopped in the doorway, moved by what she saw. A young soldier, wounded and tired, cradling alien children like they were his own. That, she said softly to herself, is why we fight. Above the base, the stars burned cold and bright. Somewhere among them, Dominion ships were gathering, planning their next attack. But here, in this moment, there was peace. It would not last, but it was enough. The attack came at dawn on the second day. Maya was already awake when the alarm sounded. She had barely slept, spending most of the night checking defenses and speaking with her soldiers. Now she grabbed her rifle and ran to the command post. Report, she shouted as she arrived. Torres was at the monitoring station. Multiple contacts approaching from the north and east. Ground forces at least 200. They have armor, 3 heavy assault vehicles. Maya's jaw tightened. 200 soldiers and armor against 80 defenders. The odds were bad, but she had known they would be. All units to battle stations, she ordered. Defense Plan Alpha. We hold the perimeter as long as we can, then fall back to the inner ring. The medical building is our final position. No one gets through. The soldiers moved with practiced speed. They had trained for this. They knew their positions and their duties. Fear was a luxury they could not afford. Cooper was in his assigned trench, rifle ready. His shoulder ached, but he ignored it. Beside him were 3 other soldiers, Martinez, Kim, and a young private named Okonkwo. They watched the tree line, waiting. Here they come, Martinez said quietly. The Dominion forces emerged from the forest like a wave of metal and violence. Their soldiers advanced in formation, shields raised, weapons ready. Behind them rolled the assault vehicles, massive machines bristling with guns. Hold, Maya's voice came over the radio. Wait for my order. Let them get closer. Cooper's finger rested on his trigger. He could see the enemy clearly now, their dark armor, their glowing weapons. They moved with confidence, expecting an easy victory. They were wrong. Fire, Maya commanded. The Terran line erupted. Rifle fire cracked through the air. Grenades exploded among the advancing troops. The front rank of Dominion soldiers fell, caught off guard by the ferocity of the defense. But they did not stop. The Dominion were experienced warriors. They pressed forward, returning fire, using their fallen as cover. Energy bolts slammed into the Terran positions, scorching earth and shattering stone. Cooper fired until his rifle clicked empty. He ejected the magazine and slammed in a new one without thinking. His training took over, his body moving on instinct. Beside him, Okonkwo grunted and fell. A bolt had caught him in the leg. Cooper grabbed him and pulled him down behind cover. Medic, he shouted, man down. The assault vehicles were moving closer now. Their main guns opened fire, blasting holes in the outer wall. Terran soldiers scrambled to avoid the destruction. "Fall back to the second line," Maya ordered. "Keep formation, cover each other." The retreat was orderly but costly. More soldiers fell as they moved, but they kept fighting, kept protecting each other. That was the Terran way. In the medical building, Sierra was awake and terrified. She could hear the battle raging outside, the explosions, the screams, the constant crack of weapons. Her children were pressed against her, shaking. "Mother," Kale whispered, "are they coming for us?" Sierra pulled him close. "The humans are fighting for us. They will not let the Dominion through." "But there are so many of them. I saw so many." Sierra had no answer. She had seen the numbers too. She knew how this should end. But she also remembered the look in Captain Chen's eyes, the absolute certainty that these soldiers would never give up. "Have faith," she told her children. "Have faith." Outside, the battle continued. The Terrans had fallen back to their inner positions, forming a tight ring around the medical building. The Dominion forces surrounded them, pressing in from all sides. Maya was everywhere at once, directing fire, dragging wounded soldiers to safety, filling gaps in the line. Her uniform was torn and bloody, but she kept moving, kept fighting. The assault vehicles were a problem. Their heavy guns were tearing apart the Terran defenses. Something had to be done. "Tors," Maya called, "take a team, destroy those vehicles." Tors nodded. It was a near-suicide mission, but she did not hesitate. She gathered 4 soldiers, loaded them with explosive charges, and led them into the chaos. Cooper watched them go. He wanted to join them, but his position was too critical. He was one of the last defenders between the Dominion and the medical building. A group of Dominion soldiers charged his trench. He met them with rifle fire and then, when they got too close, with his combat knife. It was brutal, desperate fighting, but Cooper did not fall back. He could not. He thought of little Ven, curled up in his lap the night before. He thought of the promise he had made. "Safe. Nothing bad is going to happen to you." The Dominion soldiers fell. Cooper stood among their bodies, breathing hard, his knife dripping blue blood. More were coming, always more. Behind him, an explosion shook the ground. He turned to see one of the assault vehicles burning, its hull torn open. Tors had done it, but he could not see her in the smoke and fire. Another explosion. A second vehicle destroyed. The Dominion advance slowed as their heavy support was eliminated. Maya's voice crackled over the radio. "Tors, report." Silence. Then, "This is Tors, 2 down, 1 to go. We have lost Jensen and Park. Miller is wounded. I am going for the last one." "Negative, fall back. You have done enough." "With respect, Captain, that last vehicle will kill us all. I am not coming back without finishing the job." The line went silent. Maya closed her eyes for just a moment. Then she opened them and kept fighting. That was all she could do. The third explosion came 5 minutes later. The last assault vehicle was a burning wreck. Tors did not respond to any further calls. The battle raged on. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, marking time in a way that seemed cruel. So much death under such a beautiful day. By afternoon, the Terran force was down to 30 effective soldiers. They held a small perimeter around the medical building, a circle barely 50 meters across. The ground was littered with bodies from both sides. The Dominion commander appeared under a white flag. He walked forward alone, stopping just outside the Terran lines. "Human commander," he called out, "I offer you terms. Surrender the escaped slaves and I will allow your survivors to leave. Continue fighting and you will all die. Choose." Maya stepped forward. She was covered in dirt and blood, her left arm hanging uselessly at her side, but her eyes were steel. "Here are my terms," she said. "Leave this planet, never come back, or I swear by everything I hold sacred, I will make you regret the day you were born." The commander laughed. You have spirit, I will give you that, but you are beaten. Look around you. Your soldiers are dying, your walls are rubble. What can you possibly do? Maya smiled. It was not a nice smile. I can do this. She raised her rifle and shot him through the head. For a moment there was stunned silence. Then the Dominion forces charged with renewed fury. They came from all sides, screaming for blood, determined to end this once and for all. The Terrans met them head-on. There was no more falling back. This was it, the final stand. They fought with everything they had, giving ground only over their dead bodies. Cooper's rifle ran dry. He threw it aside and grabbed a pistol from a fallen comrade. When that ran dry too, he fought with his knife and his fists. Around him, his brothers and sisters in arms did the same. The Dominion pushed closer, 10 meters from the medical building, 5 meters. A soldier fell at the door itself. Maya was fighting at the entrance, guarding the way like a demon. Her broken arm did not slow her down. Nothing would slow her down except death itself. And then a sound from above, a beautiful, wonderful sound. Thunder, not the thunder of explosions, but the thunder of engines, Terran engines. The sky filled with ships, dropships, gunships, fighters. The reinforcements had arrived, a full battalion coming in fast and hard. The Dominion forces looked up in horror. Their commanders tried to organize a retreat, but it was too late. Terran soldiers poured from the dropships, fresh and fully armed. Gunships strafed the enemy positions, tearing through their ranks. Within an hour it was over. The Dominion forces were either dead, captured, or fleeing into the forest. Their ships in orbit were jumping away, abandoning the survivors to their fate. Maya lowered her weapon and let herself fall to her knees. They had held. Against all odds, against an enemy that outnumbered them more than 2 to 1, they had held. The door of the medical building opened. Sierra stood there, her children beside her. She looked at the devastation, at the bodies and the blood, and then at the human soldiers who had given everything to protect her. She walked forward slowly until she stood before Maya. Then she knelt, taking the captain's hands in her own. "Thank you," Sierra whispered. "Thank you for my children. Thank you for our lives." Maya looked at her with tired, tear-filled eyes. "You do not need to thank us. This is who we are." Sierra smiled through her own tears. "Yes, this is who you are, and the galaxy will never forget it." The days after the battle were filled with hard work. Bodies needed to be buried. Defenses needed to be rebuilt. The wounded needed care. Maya stood over a row of graves, her arm in a sling. 43 of her soldiers lay here now. 43 lives given to protect 4 strangers from another world. Torres was among them. They had found her body near the last assault vehicle, her hand still gripping the detonator. She had died making sure the job was done. "She was the best of us," Cooper said quietly. He stood beside Maya, his shoulder still bandaged but healing. "They all were." "Yes," Maya's voice was thick with emotion, "and we will honor them by being worthy of their sacrifice." Behind them, the reinforcement battalion was settling in. Colonel James Wright, the battalion commander, had taken over the defense of the planet. He was an old soldier with gray hair and sharp eyes, a man who had seen countless battles in his 40 years of service. He approached Maya now, stopping beside her at the graves. "Captain Chen," he said, "walk with me." They walked in silence for a while, moving through the base. Everywhere they went, soldiers snapped to attention. Word of the battle had spread. Maya and her people were heroes. "I read your report," Wright said finally. 80 against 250, 3 assault vehicles. You held for nearly 12 hours before we arrived. He shook his head. "That should not have been possible." "We had something worth fighting for," Maya replied simply. "The refugees," Wright nodded. "I have met them. The mother Sierra, she told me everything. About the rebellion, about her husband, about how your soldiers treated her and her children." "Sorry." She said Private Cooper stayed with her children all night. that he promised them they would be safe, and then nearly died keeping that promise. She said Dr. Mitchell treated her wound like she was treating her own family. She said you stood in front of a Dominion commander and told him to leave your planet. Maya felt her face flush. I may have been a bit dramatic. Wright laughed, a real, genuine laugh. Dramatic, you shot him through the head. The Dominion is going to remember that for generations. He grew serious. Command is very impressed, Captain. There is talk of promotions, medals, recognition. We were just doing our duty, sir. No, Wright stopped and turned to face her. You did more than your duty. You reminded the whole galaxy what Terrans stand for. You showed them that we will fight and die for people who have never done anything for us, simply because it is the right thing to do. Maya was silent for a moment. Then she asked, what happens to the refugees now? They have been granted asylum. Earth has already approved it. They will be given a home, a real home where they can be safe. Good, Maya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. That is good. In the medical building, Sierra was sitting up in bed for the first time. Her wound was healing well, and Dr. Mitchell had said she could be moved in a few days. Her children were playing nearby, actually playing, laughing and running and being children again. Cooper had found some toys in the supply shipments, and he had given them to the kids. Nothing fancy, just some balls and stuffed animals, but to the Keithrani children they were treasures. Sierra watched them with tears in her eyes. She had not heard them laugh in so long, not since before the rebellion, not since their father died. Cooper sat beside her. He had spent every free moment with the family since the battle. Something had connected them, something deeper than language or species. They look happy, he said. They are happy. For the first time in years they are happy. Sierra looked at him. Because of you, because of all of you. Cooper shrugged, uncomfortable with praise. We just did what anyone would do. No, Sierra shook her head firmly. That is not true. The Dominion would not do what you did. They would have killed us. Or worse, they would have sent us back to slavery. Many species in the galaxy would have looked away, not wanting to get involved. But not you, not humans. She reached out and touched his hand. My husband was right. He always said that if we could just reach the Terrans, everything would be okay. He died believing that. Her voice broke. And he was right. Cooper did not know what to say. He just held her hand and let her cry. Little Ven ran over then, a stuffed animal clutched in his arms. It was a bear, a Terran creature he had never seen before, but he loved it. Cooper, he cried, look, bear fly. He threw the bear into the air and caught it, giggling. Cooper laughed and lifted him up. That is a great flying bear, he said. Maybe you can teach him to do tricks. Ven nodded seriously. I teach, he learn. Sierra watched them together, her youngest child who had seen such terrible things, now laughing in the arms of a human soldier. It was like something from a dream. The door opened and Maya entered. She looked tired but peaceful. Sierra, she said, I have news. Your asylum has been approved. You and your children will be taken to Earth. You will be given a home, education for the kids, everything you need to start a new life. Sierra's eyes went wide. Earth, the Terran homeworld. Yes, there is already a small Keithrani community there, other refugees from the rebellion. You will not be alone. Sierra began to cry again, but these were tears of joy. I never thought, I never imagined. Thank you so much. Maya smiled and sat beside her. There is more. The Terran government has decided to make a formal statement. They are declaring that any Keithrani refugees who reach Terran space will be protected. The Dominion has been warned. If they attack any ship carrying refugees, it will be considered an act of war. Sierra stared at her in disbelief. You would go to war for us? We already have, Maya said simply. The fight here, it changed things. Word has spread across the galaxy. Other species are watching. The Dominion is powerful, but they are not invincible, and now everyone knows that the Terrans will stand against them. Kale had stopped playing. He walked over and stood before Maya, his young face serious. "Captain," he said, "when I grow up, I want to be like you. I want to fight for people who cannot fight for themselves." Maya knelt to look him in the eye. "That is a noble goal, Kale, but you do not have to fight to help people. You can heal them like Dr. Mitchell. You can teach them. You can lead them. There are many ways to make the galaxy a better place." "My father fought," Kale said quietly. "Yes, he did, and he was very brave, but I think he would be most proud if you lived a good life, if you helped your mother and your brother and sister, if you grew up to be a good person." Maya put her hand on his shoulder. "That is the best way to honor him." Kale thought about this, then he nodded. I will try to be good." "That is all any of us can do," Maya said. "That is all any of us can do." That evening the whole base gathered for a memorial ceremony. The 43 fallen soldiers were honored, their names read aloud, their sacrifices remembered. Sierra and her children stood among the Terrans, part of the crowd. When Tor's name was called, Sierra stepped forward and placed a flower on her grave, a blue flower from the forest, the color of Keithrani's skin. "Thank you," she said softly. "Thank you for giving us our lives. We will never forget." As the ceremony ended, the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The Terran flag flew above the base, its colors bright against the darkening sky. Cooper stood at attention, watching the flag. He thought about what it meant, not just a piece of cloth, but a symbol, a promise, a declaration to the universe that humanity would always stand for what was right. He felt a small hand slip into his. Vin stood beside him, looking up at the flag too. "Pretty," the little boy said. "Yes," Cooper agreed, "it is pretty." They stood there together, Human and Keithrani, as the first stars appeared in the sky. A week later, a transport ship arrived to take Sierra and her family to Earth. It was a sleek civilian vessel, painted in the bright colors of the Terran Refugee Service. The whole base came to see them off. Sierra was walking on her own now, though she still moved carefully. Her children bounced with excitement, eager to see their new home. Maya stood at the front of the crowd. She had been officially promoted to major, though the new rank still felt strange on her shoulders. "Are you ready?" she asked Sierra. Sierra looked at the ship, then back at the base. "I am ready, but I am also sad. This place, these people, you saved us. How do I say goodbye?" "You do not say goodbye," Maya told her. "You say until we meet again. The universe is big, but it is also small. Our paths may cross again someday." Sierra smiled. "I would like that." She moved through the crowd, saying farewell to those she had come to know. Dr. Mitchell hugged her tightly and pressed a small medical kit into her hands. "Just in case," Sarah said, "and call me when you get settled. I want to hear all about your new home." Cooper was last. He stood awkwardly, not knowing what to do with his hands. The children had no such hesitation. They threw themselves at him, wrapping their arms around his legs. "Do not want to go," Vin cried. "Want to stay with Cooper." Cooper knelt and gathered all 3 children in his arms. "Hey now," he said softly. "You are going to Earth. That is amazing. You will see oceans and mountains and forests. You will make new friends. You will have so many adventures." "But you will not be there," Myra said. Cooper felt his heart break a little. "No, I will not. I have to stay here and help other people who need protecting. But I will think about you every day. And when my service is done, maybe I will come visit you." Kale looked at him with serious eyes. "Promise." "I promise." Sierra watched this exchange with a full heart. She had worried about her children, about the scars they carried, the trauma they had endured. But in the past week, she had seen them begin to heal. And much of that healing had come from this human soldier who had given them his time, his care, and his love. "Cooper," she said, "I have something for you." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object, a crystal, blue and glowing faintly. It was shaped like a teardrop. "This was my husband's," she explained. "He gave it to me on the day we were married. It is a Keith-Rani tradition. The crystal represents the bond between family members. As long as each person holds a piece of it, they are connected, no matter how far apart they are." She pressed the crystal into Cooper's hand. "You are part of our family now. You saved my children, you gave them hope. This is yours." Cooper looked at the crystal, overwhelmed. "I cannot take this. It was your husband's. He would want you to have it. He died believing that the Terrans would save us. You proved him right." Sierra closed his fingers around the crystal. "Keep it close, and remember us." Cooper's eyes were wet. "I will never forget you, I swear it." The time came to board. Sierra took her children's hands and led them toward the ship. At the ramp, she turned back one last time. "Thank you," she called out loud enough for everyone to hear. "Thank you all. We came here as strangers running for our lives. We leave as family. We will never forget what you did for us." The Keith-Rani will tell this story for generations. The story of the humans who fought and died for people they did not even know. The story of Terran devotion. Then she was gone, disappearing into the ship with her children. The ramp closed. The engines powered up. The Terran soldiers stood at attention as the ship rose into the sky. They watched it climb higher and higher until it was just a point of light among the stars. And then it was gone. Maya looked at her soldiers. These men and women had given everything. Some of them had died. All of them had suffered, but not one of them regretted it. "Dismissed," she said softly. "Get some rest. You have earned it." The crowd dispersed slowly. Cooper stayed behind, watching the sky where the ship had disappeared. He held the crystal in his hand, feeling its gentle warmth. Maya came to stand beside him. "You did good, Private." "I just did what anyone would do." Maya smiled. "That is what makes it special. For humans, protecting the innocent is not heroic, it is normal, it is expected, and that more than anything else is what makes us different." Cooper nodded slowly. "Do you think they will be okay, the family?" "Yes, I do. Earth will take care of them, and one day the Keith-Rani will be free. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but someday. The rebellion is not over, it has just begun. And we will be there to help." "Yes, we will be there." 3 months later, a message arrived at the base. It was addressed to Captain, now Major, Maya Chen and Private James Cooper. The message came from Earth. "Dear friends," the message read, "we are home, not Keith-Rani home, but human home, and it is wonderful. We live in a place called Oregon. There are trees everywhere like on Velaris Prime. Kale has started school. He is learning so much. He says he wants to be a doctor like Dr. Mitchell. Myra is taking dance classes. She is not very good yet, but she loves it. And Ven still carries his bear everywhere. He named it Cooper. The other Keith-Rani here have welcomed us. We are part of a community now. We have a home. We have a future. None of this would be possible without you. You gave us our lives. You gave us hope. You gave us a family. The story of what you did has spread. Every Keith-Rani knows it now. They speak of the humans who fought for strangers, who bled for strangers, who died for strangers. They speak of Terran devotion. More of our people are coming. They have heard that the Terrans will protect them, and they are finding the courage to run. Ships are leaving Dominion space every day, heading for Terran territory. Because of you, thousands, maybe millions will find freedom. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Until we meet again, Sierra and family." Maya read the message aloud to the assembled soldiers. When she finished, there was silence. Then someone started to clap, and then another. And then the whole base was applauding, cheering, some of them wiping tears from their eyes. Cooper held his crystal close. He could almost feel the warmth of it pulsing like a heartbeat. Connected, Sierra had said, no matter how far apart. He looked up at the sky, imagining that distant blue planet where a family was building a new life, a family that had become his own. In the years that followed, the story only grew. more Keithrani refugees arrived in Terran space. They were given homes, jobs, education. They became part of Terran society, and Terran society was better for their presence. The Dominion tried to stop the flow of refugees, but they found that every time they attacked a refugee ship, the Terrans responded with overwhelming force. Eventually, they gave up. It was easier to let the slaves go than to fight the humans. 10 years after the battle on Velaris Prime, a peace treaty was signed. The Dominion recognized Keithrani independence. The slaves were freed, all of them. It was the greatest liberation in galactic history. And at the signing ceremony, standing among the Terran delegation, was a young Keithrani man named Kale. He had grown tall and strong. He wore the uniform of a Terran medical officer. Dr. Mitchell had sponsored his education, and he had graduated at the top of his class. Beside him stood his mother, Sierra, now a respected advocate for refugee rights. And beside her stood a human man with gray at his temples, Captain James Cooper, retired. He had kept his promise. He had come to visit. As the treaty was signed and the crowd erupted in celebration, Sierra looked at the humans around her friends, her family, her protectors. "This is because of you," she said to Cooper. "All of this, because humans would not look away, because you fought for people you did not know, because of family devotion." Cooper smiled, the blue crystal still hanging around his neck after all these years. "No," he said, "this is because of you, because you had the courage to run, because you trusted us, because you survived." Sierra shook her head. "We survived because of you." "Then I guess we saved each other." She laughed a real joyful laugh. "Yes, I suppose we did." Around them, humans and Keithrani and a dozen other species celebrated together. The galaxy had changed. It was not perfect, it never would be. But it was better, and it kept getting better day by day because there were people willing to stand up for what was right. Little Vin, not so little anymore, a teenager now, ran up to them. He was laughing, caught up in the excitement of the moment. "Cooper," he shouted, "did you see? We did it. We are free." Cooper grabbed him in a hug. "Yes, Vin, you are free. You were always meant to be free." Vin hugged him back, his eyes bright with happy tears. "Thank you for everything, for being our family." "Always," Cooper said, "always." Above them, the stars shone bright and clear. Somewhere out there, other refugees were still running, still searching for safety. And somewhere out there, Terran soldiers were waiting to protect them. Because that was who humans were. That was what they did. They protected family. And family, they had learned, was not about blood or species or the planet you were born on. Family was about love and devotion and the willingness to fight for each other no matter the cost. Humanity yeah.